Hey guys, it's Laura bringing you this week's Man Brag Monday. My man brag today is actually about three separate men who all did the same thing. So that's why I'm bragging on it today, because it's the same brag, it's just for three different guys. And that brag is about men who show up and are willing to make themselves vulnerable. And a lot of people think that vulnerability equals weakness. That is not at all the case. These three men who showed up in my life, who allowed themselves to be vulnerable, who kind of took that step into the unknown, that like zero comfort zone, they're not weak men in any way, shape, or form. They're some of the strongest men I know. They are incredibly capable and resourceful and resilient, and they get shit done, and they're good at what they do. So they're not weak. And again, I think that vulnerability is sometimes seen as weakness, because when you're vulnerable, you don't really know what to feel. Like you don't feel comfortable, and when you don't feel comfortable, you feel weak. You feel like you're not at your best. And so I want to honor those men who did show up in my life, who made themselves vulnerable, who admitted their fear, the fact that they don't normally ask for help, or the fact that they don't like feeling the way that they felt in those moments. And I really do want to honor and acknowledge that, because it's an amazing, amazing trait to be able to make yourself vulnerable, to ask for help when you need it, to admit that you can't do it all by yourself. Whether you're a man or a woman, vulnerability exists. And when you can really, like I said, acknowledge it and tell people, like, hey, I'm super vulnerable right now, there's nothing wrong with that. And again, these men really did show up. They were amazing. They took that leap. Again, asked for my help when they needed it, or told me they were making themselves vulnerable, told me they were scared, told me they were uncomfortable. And it was really just an honor to be able to hold that space for them, and it challenged me as well to, how do I show up and how do I support you when you're in that place of vulnerability? And I think that's a challenge that a lot of women maybe don't take on. How do we respond? How do we show up, and how do we respond to men when they choose to let their guard down, when they choose to make themselves vulnerable? And it was a challenge for me. I had to really think about how I wanted to hold that space for them, how I wanted them to feel in that moment of vulnerability. And I don't know if I failed or succeeded, but my goal was to hold space and to make it okay for them to be vulnerable, even if just for a few minutes, so that they could really do what they needed to do, process how they needed to process, feel the emotions that were coming up for them. And again, it was an honor to be able to hold that space. I was beyond honored that they were willing to share that with me. And it's also very humbling as a woman when a man is willing to share that with you and to say, like, hey, I'm super uncomfortable right now. I feel really vulnerable. And to be able to say, you know what, that's okay. I got you. And again, I don't know if I succeeded or failed in my efforts, but my goal was to really make them feel heard and seen and acknowledged and respected and valued in that space. So again, my man brag today is on the three guys in my life who I'm not going to name, but the three men who showed up and really did make themselves vulnerable and were willing to admit that and acknowledge that. And I'm honored to have been a part of that. I'm honored to have shared that space with them. I think I actually have a deeper relationship with all three of them now as a result. And, I'm looking forward to how that's going to grow and continue. So I would love to hear your man brags. Let me know what's going on. Who's brag-worthy in your world? And yeah, drop it in the comments. Shoot a quick video. Would love to hear what's going on for you guys today. Talk to you soon. Bye. Mwah.